Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So we're reading Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text 24. This chapter is the summary of the Bhagavad Gita. Achedyo yam adyo yam.
Achedyo yam adyo yam.
Akledyo shosha eva cha.
Akledyo shosha eva cha.
Nitya savagata stano.
Nitya sarvagata stano.
Achalo yam sanatana.
Achalo yam sanatana.
Achedyo yam adyo yam.
Achedyo yam adyo yam.
Akledyo shosha eva cha.
Akledyo shosha eva cha.
Nitya savagata stanor.
Nitya sarvagata stanor.
Achalo yam sanatana.
Achalo yam sanatana.
Achedyo yam adyo yam.
Achedyo yam adyo yam.
Akledyo shosha eva cha.
Akledyo shosha eva cha.
Nitya savagata stanor.
Nitya sarvagata stanor.
Achalo yam sanatana.
Achalo yam sanatana.
Akledyo yam adyo yam.
Akledyo yam adyo yam.
Achedyo shosha eva cha.
Akledyo shosha eva cha.
Nitya sarvagata sthano.
Nitya savagata stanor.
Achalo yam sanatana.
Achalo yam sanatana.
Achledyo yam adyo yam.
Akledyo yam adyo yam.
Achalo shosha eva cha.
Achedyo shosha eva cha.
Nitya sarvagata stanor.
Nitya savagata
Sthano.
Achalo yam sanatana.
Achalo yam sanatana.
Mothers?
We don't have the voice on the TV. So.
Oh, okay. I can just go on. Achedyo, unbreakable. Ayam, this soul. Adya, unable to be burned. Ayam, this soul. Akledya, insoluble. Asosha, not able to be dried. Eva, certainly. And Nitya, everlasting. Sarvagata, all pervading. Stanu, unchangeable. Achala, immovable. Ayam, this soul. Sanatana, eternally the same. This individual soul, translation, this individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble, and can be neither burned nor dried. He is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. All these qualifications of the atomic soul definitely prove that the individual soul is eternally the atomic particle of the spirit whole, and he remains the same eternally without change. The theory of monism is very difficult to apply in this case because the individual soul is never expected to become one homogeneously. After liberation from material contamination, the atomic soul may prefer to remain as a spiritual spark in the effulgent rays of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But the intelligent souls enter into the spiritual planets to associate with the personality of Godhead. The word Sarvagata, all pervading, is significant because there is no doubt that living entities are all over God's creation. They live on the land, in the water, in the air, within the earth, and even within fire. The belief that they are sterilized and fire is not acceptable, because it is clearly stated here that the soul cannot be burned by fire. Therefore, there is no doubt that there are living entities also in the sun planet with suitable bodies to live there. If the sun globe is uninhabited, then the word Sarvagata, living everywhere, becomes meaningless. The translation again is, this individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble and can be neither burned nor dried. He is everlasting, present everywhere, and unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prestaya Bhutale, Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamane, Namaste Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Pacharne, Devashesha Srinyamani Paschatya Desatarne, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prestaya Bhutale, Shrimati Satrupa Das Goswami Nitinamane, Satrupa Vedantande, Vinitam Sadhushnam, Bhakti Grantana Naipanyam, Bhaktivedanta Shikshitam. So, it's nice to be here. I was thinking, I'm coming to see Lord Jagannath, and he's looking so dazzling today. He's really got a nice outfit on. I'm not sure whether the outfit is looking the best on, Jagannath or Radha Bihari, but they're really, really looking beautiful. So it's so nice. I get to come and be here in Jagannath's temple. I used to live here, so I'm very encouraged to come. And today, we're going to talk for some time, just a short time, about the Bhagavad Gita. Most of you are so familiar with the Gita. Is there anyone here that's new today? So, my name is Haryasva, and I like to say welcome. Thanks for coming, And we're going to talk about the Bhagavad Gita now. And the Bhagavad Gita is our main text, There's other literatures that we read from, but the Bhagavad Gita is the main text. And it means the song of God. Sometimes we wonder, I know I did as a young man, I used to wonder, what is God like? What does he do? What does he think? What does he have to say? Everyone has something to say, but I wondered what God was like and what he had to say. And I'm raised as a Christian, so one of my most affectionate things about Lord Jesus Christ was that he used to talk about his Father. I used to think, how can his Father be so awesome when Christ is so awesome? But he used to speak of his Father in such a special way. And the first time I began to read Bhagavad Gita, after I finished reading the Gita, I thought, well, they're not talking about Christ in this Gita, it's Krishna consciousness. I said, I don't know if I could, really trust this. They're not really speaking about Christ. And then I reflected, as a young boy, Christ always speaking about his Father. And I said, no, could this Krishna really be the Father of Christ? And somehow the whole alignment worked for me. And I could see just how he could speak so wonderfully about his Father. So here today, we're talking about the soul, the self, about the atomic spark, like you and I. And for some time, you've been speaking in this section, the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And here, the nature of the self is being further explained. That the soul is unbreakable and soluble. It can't be burned. It can't be moistened by water, burned by fire, withered by the wind. Not changed when the body's changed. You've had a progression of explaining the different aspects of the soul. And I think that if there's some specific point about the soul, you can ask me, because everything is so simply explained here that, he, just like Krishna, not slain when the body is slain. You can't cut Krishna's body. You can't cut him up. We're eternally a fragmented part and parcel to Krishna. That situation is there. He explains that and in Bhagavad Gita later, Amaivam So Jiva Loke, Jiva Utsaksanatanam. He claims us that we're his, and we're his eternal fragmented parts and parcels. Due to conditioned life, we're struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. But he claims us. And so that individuality, it remains. It's not that after we perfect our life, then we're going to become one with Krishna. It's not going to work like that. And Prabhupada explained these spurts in the purport. But the thing that we haven't got to understand yet about the self, the soul, this knowledge that's being given now is wonderful, but there's more. And this one more is a more defining aspect of the self. And that's Jiver Srupahoya Krishnari Nichidas. That the Jiva, that atomic spark, not only is he eternal and unborn and not slain when the body is slain, but he's an eternal servant of Krishna. Eternally Krishna's servant. And that cuts the lights on, you know. Now, Arjuna, at this point, when Krishna's speaking like this, you know that Arjuna at a certain point became so bewildered and so perplexed that he wanted to change his relationship with Krishna. Not a very friendly relationship. But at a certain point, the fact that Arjuna had to fight with family members, the people on the other side. He's such an accomplished warrior. But at that point, he said, I can't fight them. I don't want to kill the opposition. And it's not just a point of killing. For a warrior, for a kshatriya, there is a duty. His duty is to protect. So that may not be our nature, but for a person who's a real kshatriya, even the semi-types today, that protector, that police, that soldier, his job is to protect. So if he doesn't like who he sees on the other side, he still has to do his duty. So Arjuna was becoming perplexed there. And at that point, he said to Krishna, Gopanya dosho bahato swabhava, prichchami tvam dhamma samudra cheta, jachveshtan nishchitan bruhitan me, shishastiham sadivam tvam papaya. He told Krishna, now I'm confused about my duty, and I'm asking you to tell me for certain what's best for me. Now I'm your shishya, I'm no longer sure. I'm your disciple. I'm surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. So what we hear now is Krishna is continuing to instruct Arjuna. He was explaining that, you're not killing these soldiers. You don't have the power. The self is not slain nor slaves. So he's been explaining that nature to Arjuna. But Bhagavad Gita is so wonderful because as we go through this dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, we're going to find that the Gita is so alive. Sometimes it gets reference to it being an itihasa, a history of a bygone age. But the Bhagavad Gita is alive. Because just as Arjuna heard the Bhagavad Gita, if we listen closely, then the Bhagavad Gita speaks to us as well. That means Krishna is speaking to us. And that relationship, which is so necessary to actually act in the capacity as Krishna's service, is Sambandha Gyan. We have to have a relationship. That relationship is explained here in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna explains we belong to him. He's the supreme in every way. So he takes the position as the teacher and he's beginning to educate Arjuna. But as he educates Arjuna, you see for ourselves, at a certain point, Bhagavad Gita becomes so personal. Because I look at the Gita sometimes different ways. It's such a wonderful guru-disciple manner. Krishna is taking the position of the spiritual master, and he's educating the disciple. But it's also a book that explains to us how to lift our consciousness. You know, when your intelligence is passed out of the dense darkness of ignorance, you'll become indifferent to all that you've heard and all that you understood. So the Bhagavad Gita moves our consciousness from passion and ignorance and tells us how to at least start from the platform to bring it to the platform of goodness. But really, the real consciousness, Krishna says, one's consciousness should become like my own. And he told Arjuna later, therefore Arjuna, always think of me in the form of Krishna. And at the same time, just carry out your prescribed duty. With your activities and intelligence fixed on me, your mind dedicated to me, surely you'll come to me. I promise you this, because you're my very dear friend. So, all this information that Arjuna gets is due to the fact that he's qualified to receive this information from Krishna. So when we open the Bhagavad Gita, we want to qualify ourselves to be able to hear that conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. Prabhupada says that academic prowess is not a prerequisite for understanding Bhagavad Gita, nor will it work like that. Bhagavad Gita is a matter of the heart, It is a matter of the heart. So as we do as Arjuna did, Krishna told Arjuna at a certain point, later on he told Arjuna that he instructed this science of yoga to the sun god, Vivishvan. He went all through that. And Vivishvan gave it down in parampara. He said, but in due course, it was broken. And the science as it is appeared to be lost. But today, he said, I am starting with you. I want to reinitiate the science. Why? Bhaktosi Vayatati. Because Arjuna was a friend and a devotee of Krishna. And therefore he could understand this secret, this mystery. Rahasyam is also called Guyam. Bhagavad Gita is a secret. So it's a secret, but it's an open book. And that affection is what enables us to hear that message of Bhagavad Gita. It's constantly coming. It's coming down in parampara. And that's how it has to be understood. But I didn't tell you about the last aspect of how I hear Bhagavad Gita. At other times, I hear Bhagavad Gita as a love song. It's just too sweet, Because when you're listening closely, Krishna first, he claims us, and he told Arjuna, just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual teacher. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. Those self-reliant souls will impart knowledge unto you because they've seen the truth. And what is that? And when you have thus learned the truth, you know that all beings are but part of me, and that they are all in me, and that they are mine. He's claiming us again. He tells us how to get him, and then he claims us again. So that is the Bhagavad Gita I hear. It's such a love song because Krishna is coming again and again. Just like as we come here to the temple, Srila Prabhupada, he had these temples set up and with different purposes. But one of the purposes was so that we could get association. I remember what it was like to be in the material world. And there were so many things going on besides work. So many things you had to do. If it was, for your own betterment, for your ambitions, for your social aspirations, there was always something to do. Always busy, busy, busy. And there wasn't so much really fixation on the Supreme Lord. Yeah, we went to church when we got there. We used to go regularly on Sundays. We went to church. We say nice things to God. But there was not really a relationship with the Supreme. There was not really a deep understanding that this human form of life came with a responsibility. And then we accept the responsibility, it becomes a benediction. And that benediction is that with this human form of life, we're able to inquire, Atato Brahmana Jignasa, who am I? Who's this Supreme, this God that everyone's talking about? What is the purpose of this life? And what's going to happen at the time of death? So Prabhupada said, these are the inquiries of an intelligent man. a person who's properly utilizing the human form of life. So when we come to the temples, it's another world. The smell is another smell. I remember on Woodlawn Street, that smell of butter, making halva. I couldn't get past that scent. It smells like, whenever I got to the temple, you smell the incense, but that smell of them cooking, that halva was so strong. And when I smelled that smell, I thought, I'm safe. I'm back, So here at Allen's Lane, there's so many things that are taking place. It's a culture. Here, not only do you come and you can see the Supreme Lord, you can learn about him, but one of the most important things is that you get to associate with the devotees of the Lord. When Rupa Goswami was explaining the process of Krishna consciousness, the process of bhakti, he said, Shraddha, just bring a little faith, but sadhu sangha. So the real dynamic happens when you get into the association of devotees. Why? Because they have one objective. The devotee wants to please two people at one time. He wants to please Guru and Krishna. Therefore, they're carrying the message of Krishna, not just in their heads, but they carry it in their hearts. And you see it in their daily routine. You hear it in their conversations that they have with one another. So in that sense, everything is alive. It's not just a book. It's not just a meeting. There's life. And there has to be life in order for us to really go further and to have that wonderful relationship. Now, with the spiritual master, which Krishna explained to Arjuna, we get a spiritual master. Then the spiritual master gives you Krishna. But the sweetest thing is that Srila Prabhupada made that simple because he simply wanted to do his spiritual master's work and Bhaktivinoda Thakur's work, and everybody wanted to serve Lord Chaitanya. And as you know, when we get further through the Gita, Krishna's going to tell Arjuna to abandon all these dharmas and just surrender unto him. But Lord Chaitanya is just in a different mood. Lord Chaitanya is just trying to give love of God. He wants everyone to chant these names. It may sound simple and nice, but it is such a powerful process. Because the chanting of Hare Krishna has changed all of our lives. All the people that you see here doing service on a daily basis, that's because they took what Srila Prabhupada had to offer. And many of you who say, oh, well, I didn't see Srila Prabhupada. You see him all the time, When you pick up that Bhagavad Gita, you read the Bhagavatam, you see him. He's so accessible. That Vani, those instructions are Srila Prabhupada. Most of us learned more about Srila Prabhupada after he had left the planet because information and instructions and the affection that the disciples felt for Srila Prabhupada, it became so front and center that there was an urgency, a need to glorify that person who had saved us. There was a need to talk about Srila Prabhupada. And so he became more accessible. So the holy name is really what's been given to us. And it's everything. Lord Chaitanya said, everywhere you go, everywhere you meet, you give him Krishna. But in this age that we're living in, although we're reading Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, the purificatory process is to chant Krishna's name. Twofold. We chant Krishna's name and we're glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We're getting his attention. We're calling him. We chant Krishna's name. We're purifying our existence. We chant Krishna's name and the relationship begins to develop. So it's all about the holy name. But you can't exclude anything else. Without the Bhagavad Gita, we don't get the brain, the intelligence on the platform. Without the Bhagavatam, soul proper, Krishna Bhagavad Gita, book by God, Bhagavatam, book about God and his devotees. So too sweet. And that sweet, that highest ecstasy, Chaitanya Charitamrita, just lovers of God. And their exchanges. So all these things that Prabhupada has given, he's given us the holy name. Now, the holy name really does everything. It helps us establish our relationship with Krishna. It purifies our existence. It takes us, eventually, it's going to let us know our true, Swarup, our real relationship with the Supreme. That we can wait on. But the main thing is that we get to understand another secret that Krishna told Arjuna later in the Bhagavad Gita. Bhakshamam abhijananti yavanyas shashmi tatvadaha. He said, one can know me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full union with me, through such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. Now the intensity is starting to happen. We're listening, we're inquiring, we've been given information how to get the truth, but now Krishna himself, he said, you want to know me? You can know me as I am, only by devotional service. When we used to come to the temple on Woodlawn Street, and it's a wonderful place. We come there, I come in the door, and we'd have to ask, can I have some devotional service? You come into the temple, and you'd ask for devotional service. And you didn't get to pick what kind of devotional service you did, They tell me, okay, Dr. Howard, we go to the pots. Okay, wipe down the stairs. I said, we can get a mop to do this. I said, keep going, just move, wipe down the stairs. Or we're doing the jewelry, we're cutting vegetables. But whatever service we were given, that was the life changer. Being engaged in the service of Krishna was just, I can't explain it, From the perspective of a new man, just trying to learn the channel of Krishna, whatever they gave me to do made me happy. It's not really about you, but you're a part of it. Any service that I was given made me happy. And another thing they used to do is they engage us and they say, okay, stop. Okay, it's time to read Nectar Devotion. And we stop whatever we're doing and we start reading the Nectar Devotion. It's okay, come on, stop. Let's take prasada. We take prasada. And then we go back and we do more service. But the temple, that place where we come to see Krishna and to associate with the devotees, is a place where we come to learn about engaging in Krishna's devotional service. Where else can you get Krishna's service? So the devotees, that is really what they give you. They give you service to Krishna. There's 9 processes of devotional service. Hearing, chanting, remembering, offering prayers, vandana, offering one's very self, worshiping the deity. But it is the devotional service to the Supreme Lord that really takes us to that next level. As we begin to read Bhagavad Gita, and we engage in the service of the Lord, and we chant, and we come and we get service, our lives become changed. And that is really the position which is being explained to by the soul. Yeah, the soul can't be burned. It's not dry. It's not moistened by water. It's not withered by the wind. It doesn't become one with the Supreme at the end. Not if you're intelligent. Eternal servant of the Supreme. We need to understand. We want to hear Bhagavad Gita the way Arjuna heard it. And Krishna asked him, it's a whole long conversation. But at the end, he did ask him. He said, well, before I tell you that, he told him that you'll be able to cross over all the obstacles of life. If you remain conscious of me, you'll be able to cross over all the obstacles of life by my grace. If, however, you disregard these teachings and act out of false ego, not adhering to my instructions, then you will be lost. So, this is really a golden opportunity. This is really the benediction. The Bhagavad Gita isn't just, it's not beautiful poetry, and it's so beautiful, you know? Some of the stanzas are so beautiful. It's not just beautiful poetry. It is the instructions of the Supreme Person of Godhead. It is the Lord. It is Krishna speaking directly to his devotees. So many people will read Bhagavad Gita and they won't hear the message of Bhagavad Gita. They won't be ready to surrender. They won't want service. Because, again, it's Guyam. It's the secret. It won't be, if you're envious, you know, if you don't want to be austere, you won't understand it. But it's meant for devotees. Bhagavad Gita is for devotees. For those who want to have a relationship with the Supreme. And the chanting of Hare Krishna is the methodology to become lovers of God and to become reunited with Krishna. So this is the real nature of the soul. This is the nature of the soul. The soul is an eternal servant of Krishna. And this center, this temple, is where we learn how to become educated to serve Krishna and to serve his devotees. Better than serving Krishna is serving the devotees. Das, das, anudas. So it's, I know I ran away from the points of the nature of the self, but I think you've been hearing it for quite some time. In this section, it explains that. But the real thing is to become servants and lovers of God. The real thing is to hear that message of Bhagavad Gita. Well, I hope I haven't bored you. Is there anything we can talk about? This process it's a process, so I'm leaving room so maybe we can talk some. Yes, Sean.
Thank you, Prabhu. So you mentioned about your eagerness to go back to the Woodland Center when the temple was in that location, and you mentioned as how when you got there you felt that, oh, I'm here, I'm protected. Right?
Oh.
So we all come here to take shelter of Krishna, and then we all feel that sense, right? Now, there are times when we have that feeling, and then we come here to take association, but with that comes, there are times when the association itself comes between us and Krishna. There is some person or there is some people that we may not really find a good connection with, then our connection with Krishna is affected because of it. And there are people that have stopped coming to the temple because of some such people in between. They put between themselves and Krishna. How does one get over that and then not bring other things that are possible between them and Krishna?
I'm not completely sure I understand that some people just don't want to associate with certain people because they're causing them difficulty or well, the first thing is we have to remember our purpose. If you remember your purpose, and your purpose is that it's like an old Christian prayer, it's me, O Lord, standing in the need of prayer. So I need help. When I come to the temple, I come to see Krishna, to bring something, but I come because this science is a science of self-realization. I come here because I want to learn. Now, the person can be wrong or right that I'm dealing with. That has so little to do with it. If I'm not making it with one person, okay, move over, But there's a whole temple. So there has to be someone that I can communicate with. And I need to reveal my mind to someone so that someone can speak to me. Maybe what I'm experiencing is really my false sense of self. Maybe that person is chipping away at my false ego. Maybe I don't like the way they deal with me, the things they're saying, but maybe some of the things they're saying are for my own good. So this is why I'm speaking about relationships. You have to, one of the 6 loving exchanges, you have to find someone to reveal your mind in confidence and inquire confidentially from someone. The other thing is that we all have to be under proper guidance. The mind, in the Bhagavad Gita, the mind is in want for some superior direction, some superior dictation. So the mind's always telling us what to do. But when the mind is directed, then the mind becomes controlled. When it is purified, when it's directed. So we need, who's the authority? The first thing you have to say, when you come to the temple, who's my authority? Now that word may sound strong in today's, but if we don't have an authority, then either our mind or the illusory energy becomes our authority. So we get shelter at the temple. We find there has to be some Vaishnava that can assist us. So that's the one thing, is that we come here in a humble state of mind. We come here thinking, I come to learn, I can reveal my mind to someone, I can inquire from someone, but the relationship, who are we? We're eternal servants of Krishna, and therefore we want to act like that. So that's, I think that's the first place I'd start. I just make that inquiry. What do you think, Vishnu?
On this point,
Yeah.
I think you made a very good point that your purpose, our purpose in coming to the temple or coming to any spiritual place is to understand Krishna and try to serve Krishna. And that can be taken away in any circumstance. There's a verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam that says, Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir ahoitikiya pratita yeyatma supasidati. There's no condition or situation that will stop you from engaging in devotional service. Sometimes people say, well, somebody who's a celibate monk, they didn't like that they have to chant Hare Krishna with ladies, And so Prabhupada said, well, okay, you want to go to the forest? No matter where you are in this world, there's going to be somebody who you don't get along with, no matter where you are. It's always there. At your work, at your school, there's always somebody who's going to give you a little hard time. That's because we're here in the material world. And so if we take the attitude that this is Krishna's testing me for how serious am I really? There's going to be some difficulty. How serious am I to come and try to understand my role as being a servant of Krishna? And that can't be stopped. So if I really want to continue to serve Krishna, then I can do that. There's a nice verse in the Bhagavad Gita that says, Api chet sudaracharo bhajate mam ananyabha sadhureva samantyava. Even though somebody might do something not so nice, if they continue to do the service, that's a spiritual person. That's a sadhu. Sadhureva samantavya. That's the definition of sadhu given in Bhagavad Gita. So the Maya always tries to keep you away from doing service for this reason, that reason. There's a million reasons not to. That's called Maya, illusion. So that we should know that. I should know that. And so that to focus harder on trying to serve Krishna, that's our job.
Thank you. The whole society today is we have such a wonderful opportunity to be Krishna conscious and to spread Krishna consciousness. We've got a president that really makes us pray. I mean, he makes me pray. Indirectly, he's encouraging you to pray. And it's just that the degradation of the age of Kali, which is becoming more manifest, especially if you're older, you can see how things have become so, degraded. Therefore, you understand that there's real shelter in these temples. We're not interested in killing animals. We don't want intoxication. We don't want illicit activity. And if we do, we got to purify ourselves and get rid of that desire. And, you know, and what to speak of, we're not hitting the casinos and things like that. So refraining from these activities enable us to hear, you know, enable us to become more clear. We open ourselves up to receive the mercy of the Lord. But to speak of the fact of Krishna, I want to talk to you about love again. You know, it's one thing that Krishna lets us, you know, we have the freedom to come here to the material world. We don't have to serve Krishna if we don't want to. He said, you can do that. He said, but I'm coming with you, okay? So the first thing is, Paramatma's there. And then he comes himself as the chariot driver, charioteer of Arjuna. And then he's sending his servants again and again and again. You know, whenever there's an increase in their religion and a decline in religiosity, he says, at that time I send myself. Why? He doesn't have to come to kill him because time he is. But to annihilate the miscreants, but to appease the devotees, to let us see what it's like. But don't forget the sweetness of Krishna's pastimes, of Krishna's beautiful smile, just the whole Krishna culture. So he begins to display that here in his earthly pastimes. So he does that for his devotees. And then, you know, he says, even in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, if one has a spiritual master and he's trying to serve me, but he's sincere, but he can't follow, then to show him special mercy, I from within the heart destroy with his shining lamp of knowledge that darkness born of ignorance. He's coming again and again, and then he comes as non-Prabhu. You know, all the energies, everything has been invested in the holy name. Everything is there. So if we take the holy name, Krishna is bombarding us with affection. He won't let us go. That is love. You know. So we've been loved from the gate. We're just looking for love in all the wrong places. Now that we're here, now that we're going through the Gita, let's really go through the Gita. Let's try to hear Bhagavad Gita the way Arjuna heard the Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, when the question is asked, have you heard with an attentive mind? Are your doubts and illusions now dispelled? We can say, yes, I've understood, and I'm ready to act by your grace. Therefore, one can know me as I am, only by devotional service. Come to the temple, you know, find someone that you can take shelter of. Get instructions, because we're das ono das. Srila Prabhupada is still there. He's in each and every purple. Just amazing how accessible Srila Prabhupada is, how accessible Krishna is. And there's one last thing we need to do. We need to join the Sankirtan movement. Lord Chaitanya is also a preacher. It's one thing to get this mercy ourselves, but then you got to give it out. When I lived here in this temple, we didn't get to stay in the temple much, you know. We got up real early, and we had to chant our rounds before Mangal Artik, most of them. Then at Mangal Artik, we jump right into the kirtan. Sometimes I have to leave, go change my clothes because we dance so hard. We're completely wet, you know. But then you come back and you study your slokas. And after you study your slokas, you go and greet the deities. There's Vyasa Guru Puja and Srimad Bhagavatam class. We couldn't wait to get to Srimad Bhagavatam. No one missed the Mangal Artik. That was the party. Mangal Artik was the first chance that you got really, really surcharged. You were going to see the deities, they looked beautiful, and you were going to chant and glorify Krishna. Oh, then it was time for, after class, it was time for prasad. So we didn't have much time for prasad. But we took prasad because we had to go out. We had to go out and try to share what we had been given. Because someone helped me in my Krishna consciousness. I had to go out and get to the airport and distribute some books. You know, I just had to go out. So that's the other thing that we can do to really become enlivened, is to give to others what has been given to us. This Sacred Time movement is for everyone. So we're preachers. This movement is a compassionate movement. This temple is a compassionate temple. Those negative things that come and go, that's just what happens. They come and go. But our service to Krishna is eternal. Our relationship with Krishna is eternal. We just want to hear that conversation sweetly. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you.